are not unlucky. You are afraid. Afraid to try, afraid to fail, afraid to discover that if you truly gave your absolute all and still didn't succeed, you'd have no one left to blame but yourself. This is the brutal truth that Friedrich Nietzsche revealed behind the comforting mask of bad luck. Most people prefer to believe their lives are shaped by luck or fate. Why? Because it frees them from the most terrifying responsibility of all, that of being the authors of their own existence. The idea of bad luck functions as a defense mechanism. It allows the individual to justify their stagnation without ever having to question their own choices. If life didn't work out, it was the universe. If nothing changed, it's because luck didn't show up. But reality, according to Nietzsche, is far more uncomfortable. The force blocking your evolution is not external. It is your fear of taking full control. This stance isn't just common, it's culturally encouraged. We live in a culture that normalizes passivity disguised as spirituality. It glorifies waiting for signs from the universe and reinforces the defeatist idea that if it's meant to be, it will be. Nietzsche fiercely attacked this mentality. He called it the slave morality, a way of thinking where the individual transfers their power outside of themselves, blaming invisible forces for everything they lack the courage to face within. This fear manifests silently every day. It's easier to say, "I've never had luck in love," than to admit you repeat patterns with people who cannot give you what you want. It's more comfortable to repeat, "Opportunities don't come," than to recognize you ignored, refused, or sabotaged every single one of them out of insecurity. It's safer to hide behind the idea that life is random than to face the fact that you have deliberately avoided the responsibility of building what you claim to desire. Nietzsche laid this bare. For him, the person who blames bad luck has not yet understood that life is indifferent. The universe does not conspire either for or against you. And precisely because of that, you are free. The world's indifference is not a punishment. It is pure possibility. You can create anything. But to do that, you must abandon the idea that hidden forces are holding you back. You need to accept that what hinders you most,
bad luck, ceases to be an explanation, and the conscious creation of your life becomes the only possible path. The comfort of the victim role. The human mind has an extraordinary talent for self-protection, even if it means lying. And one of the most recurring lies, according to Nietzsche, is the one that forces us into the role of the victim. Being a victim is paradoxically comfortable. There is a psychological safety in believing things went wrong because of factors beyond our control. When you embrace that role, you don't need to change. You don't need to take risks. You don't need to take responsibility. All you need to do is wait. Wait for something out there to change for you. Nietzsche was surgical in dismantling this internal structure. He understood that most people hide behind the victim role because facing the risk of being free is unbearable. Being free means that everything depends on you. It means that if you try to build the life you want and fail, there will be no excuses. There will be no luck, no fate, no cosmic injustice to ease the pain. There will only be you and the realization that you failed on your own merit. This is a truth few can bear to face. For that reason, many prefer to silently sabotage their own chances. They unconsciously reject opportunities, avoid challenges, gravitate toward relationships doomed to fail, procrastinate dreams, and maintain habits that destroy them. All of this happens because deep down, it is easier to deal with the predictable frustration of a mediocre life than with the sheer terror of truly trying and confronting the abyss of real failure. Bad luck becomes the perfect excuse to protect yourself from trauma that hasn't even happened yet. This emotional protection is not only internal, it is cultural. We live in a society that feeds the victim narrative. Social media, motivational speeches, and even certain lines of spiritual thought reinforce the idea that you are not to blame for anything, that you did the best you could, and that the universe will still reward your pain. Nietzsche would see this as poison, not out of contempt for suffering,
but because he knew this waiting posture anesthetizes the will to power. That vital force that drives us to creation, transformation, and self-overcoming. When an individual settles into this position, they don't
Comfortable, it seems, is robbing you of the only thing that truly matters, the power to act. Only when you accept this uncomfortable truth does the possibility of authentic transformation begin to emerge. Because the moment you stop hiding behind stories that absolve you, you finally face the real choice. Continue depending on external forces or become the agent of your own life. But for that, you must destroy another, even deeper illusion, the idea that there are enemies out there preventing your success. In the next section, we'll explore this trap, the myth of the external enemy, and how it keeps you imprisoned by fear while the true battle has always been within. If this content is making sense to you, please click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. The myth of the external enemy. One of the most effective mechanisms humans have developed to avoid self-responsibility is the displacement of blame onto others. Nietzsche understood this deeply. He saw how the mind creates external ghosts to justify its own stagnation. The world is against me. People don't want to see me grow. The system is unfair. My parents sabotaged me. The government is to blame. Society limits me. The list is endless. And the longer it becomes, the further you distance yourself from the most uncomfortable truth of all. The main obstacle between you and the life you desire is yourself. This kind of thinking is part of what Nietzsche called the slave morality. It's a psychological system where the individual abdicates the power of action and convinces themselves that external forces are responsible for their pain, their lack of progress, and their unhappiness. It is an ancient mechanism, inherited from centuries of oppression and fear. But today it disguises itself with modern narratives. Instead of a punishing God, now it's the algorithm. Instead of an external demon, it's the job market, the ex, the boss, the country, or astrology. The names change, but the psychic function remains the same, to avoid confronting one's own freedom. Because freedom, true freedom, is unbearably heavy. It demands that you acknowledge, no one is stopping me but myself. That is a truth meant the success that demands radical change. What if the enemies you claim to face are just shadows, projected to divert your attention from the only real enemy, your fear of acting? The truth is, the more you seek blame outside, the further you move away from the center of your own power. And this is not about denying that the world is unfair or that life imposes difficulties. Nietzsche never romanticized suffering, but he believed that even within chaos, the choice of how you react, how you act, is still yours. And it is precisely there that your freedom lies. The indifference of the world is not a sign of oppression, it is a sign of autonomy. The universe does not conspire against you, it simply does not conspire at all. And that is all you need to do something different. The pain of accepting this is real, but it is also the starting point for a more honest, stronger, and more authentic existence. When you stop fighting against imaginary enemies, only an open field remains. A field where everything is possible, provided you have the courage to take command. It is at this point that Nietzsche's philosophy meets one of its most powerful ideas. Amor fati, love your fate, not as resignation, but as a radical affirmation of the life you are willing to build. Amor fati, the fierce love of your destiny. Among all of Nietzsche's provocative ideas, perhaps none is as misunderstood and yet as powerful as the concept of amor fati, literally, love of fate. Many interpret this idea as an invitation to resignation, a passive acceptance of everything that happens, including pain, loss, and failure. But this is a superficial reading.
Nietzsche was never an advocate of passivity. He was, above all, a firebrand of consciousness. Amor fati is not about accepting what life imposes on you. It is about claiming everything that has happened to you as the raw material for what you are yet to become. To love your fate for Nietzsche is to radically affirm your own existence. It is to look at every wrong choice, every failure, every wound, and say, "This is also me, and I do not want any of this to have been different." Not out of masochism, but because he understood that only those who can embrace the past without resentment.
Challenging point. To live under the spirit of amor fati, you need to abandon the idea that you are a victim of anything. You need to set aside the guilt you project onto others, the shame you hide from yourself, and the fear of trying again. Because this love of fate is, at its core, love for your own capacity to create, to rebuild, and to give meaning. It is you looking at everything that broke you and deciding that none of it was in vain. Nietzsche believed that only when you can say yes to the totality of your life do you truly become free. And that yes requires courage. It is not the yes of someone who conforms. It is the yes of someone who chooses, someone who creates, someone who takes chaos and shapes it with their own hands. Amor fati is the foundation upon which you build not only the acceptance of what was, but the audacity to imagine what can be. But this audacity is only possible when one understands a fundamental truth. The universe is indifferent. It is not trying to teach you anything. It is not conspiring against or in favor of you. It simply is. In the next part, we will explore exactly why the universe's indifference is not a reason for despair, but rather the most powerful of freedoms. This absence of imposed meaning opens up space for you to be the creator of your own significance, the freedom in indifference. One of the hardest truths to accept, but also one of the most liberating, is that the universe simply does not care. It has no plans for you. It is not trying to teach you lessons. It does not conspire against or in favor of you. It does not punish, does not reward, nor does it organize events according to your merit or suffering. It simply is. This realization may sound cold, even desperate, especially for those who grew up believing in purpose, cosmic justice, synchronicity, or some predetermined destiny. But Nietzsche saw this indifference as a sublime revelation, because if nothing is written, then everything can be written. The absence of a predefined meaning is what fuels nihilism for many. If nothing makes sense, why do anything? But Nietzsche proposes a brutal and brilliant inversion. Life, waiting for signs, for answers, for external validations. Deciding for oneself requires strength, and most prefer to wait. The truth is that life owes you nothing. The world is not obligated to offer you meaning, success, or redemption. The universe does not operate on justice and does not move by merit. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you can stop waiting and start acting. Nietzsche calls us to abandon this childish stance towards existence. He wants you to rise before chaos and declare, "I create." It is here that the concept of freedom transforms into power. There is no cosmic plan? Great. That means you can write your own. Nothing is guaranteed? Excellent. That means you have the right to try and fail as many times as you want. Nothing makes sense by itself? Perfect. That means the meaning of your life will be whatever you have the courage to build. And this leads us to the most important question of all. What are you building? If you still live saying that you haven't been lucky, that things never happen for you, or that the universe doesn't help, perhaps you are just fleeing from the most uncomfortable reality of all.
You have not truly started to create yet. You still live as if you need permission, but you don't. In the next part, we will discuss what happens when you stop telling stories to yourself and actually start creating your life with your own hands. We will talk about the birth of the Creator and why, according to Nietzsche, you only begin to truly live when you kill all your excuses. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebooks. Beyond the Shadow breaks down Jung's core ideas, while Dialogues with the Unconscious gives you a 30-day path to apply them in your life. Both are linked in the pinned comment. The birth of the Creator, killing the narrative. There comes a moment when there is no one left to blame. No trauma, no absent parent, no abusive boss, no ex, no politician, no planetary alignment, no algorithm. Just you, just your consciousness, just the choices you made or failed to make. It is at this point that many people crumble, because the collapse of excuses means the inevitable birth of the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. That you have too many problems or too few traits. This story needs to die, because as long as it lives, you will live within it. You will use it as a shield, a justification, and a prison. Nietzsche believed that a human being only becomes truly free when they overcome these inherited narratives, social, religious, moral, familial, and begin to create their own values. This is what he called the birth of the Übermensch, or Overman, the one who does not conform to the life they were given, but decides to shape a new one with their own hands. The Creator, the author of their own existence. This has nothing to do with becoming superior to others. It has to do with becoming superior to yourself, to your past version, your old story, the fractured identity you carry. But to do this, you need to be willing to face a kind of pain few can bear, the pain of truth, the pain of seeing that everything you have not achieved until today was not due to bad luck. It was due to fear, hesitation, omission, or self-sabotage. It was because deep down you still hoped someone would come to save you, but no one comes. And this is not a reason for despair. It is the beginning of your autonomy. When you abandon the illusion that life should be a certain way, you gain the freedom to build a life your way. You cease to be a product of the past and become an active force in the present. You kill the character and are born as the author. But beware, being the author of your own life is not magical. It is brutal. It is uncertain. It is exhausting. It is painful. But it is yours. And that is where the true dignity of existence lies. At this point in the journey, there is no more room for excuses, only for choices. And every choice you make or avoid will sculpt the world you live in. There is no formula, no manual, no map. There is only you and the courage to decide. If you have made it this far, there is one last question. Are you ready to take on this power? The final choice, control or slavery. In the end, there are only two options. Either you take control and reacts to the world, but as someone who shapes the world with their own will. Maybe right now you are feeling exactly that, a weight, a discomfort, an unease, because everything that has been said here forces you to look within, to confront everything you called bad luck, fate, or injustice, and see that behind each of those words there may have only been fear. And now that you know this, there is no more pretending, there is no more hiding. From this moment on, every choice you make will be made with awareness, and that changes everything. You don't need to wait for luck. You don't need signs. You don't need permission. You just need to decide. There is no ideal moment. There is no security. There is no certainty. But there is the now. And the now
is the only fertile ground where something can be created. If you keep waiting, you will only be cultivating regret. The final question is not, are you capable? It is, are you willing? If this video shook you, if it confronted you in a way you didn't expect, it's because it hit you exactly where it needed to. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below, I choose control. Write this as a commitment, as a milestone, as the first step. And share this video with someone who keeps saying, I'm unlucky, but whom you know has the potential for much more. Before you go, do one last thing for yourself. Watch the next video. It is important, just as important as this one, because this journey doesn't end here. It has only just begun.